Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Ranking Member Brownlee and the rest of you on the subcommittee, thank you for holding this hearing. I appreciate the opportunity to give these remarks about 2065, called the Safe Housing for Homeless Veterans Act. This is the same bill that we passed last year, slightly modified, but it's essentially the same bill for the homeless. Currently, there are over 2,100 community-based homeless veterans service providers across the country, and many other homeless assistance programs that have all demonstrated an effort to try to take care of our homeless veterans. I visited some of these shelters throughout West Virginia, not only in my district but elsewhere. You have to understand my background. I come from the construction industry. I'm one of 2 licensed engineers in Washington, in Congress. So it doesn't take me long to walk into a building and I can tell you whether or not that building meets code. And when I walked into some of these shelters, I was appalled to what we've done to our veterans. They've been in harm's way, and they come back, and their lives are challenged in some of these facilities. There is no current law. There's a policy within the VA to comply with the code. Think about that. It's a policy, not a requirement. It's a policy. I think this is an omission governing our Veterans Homeless Program funds. 2065 would require that any organization that seeks funding for VAs for services to homeless veterans to have documentation that their building meets or exceeds building codes. Not a policy, it shall. Before we entrust these men and women, given their lives or sacrifice their lives, they can have a safe home. It makes it easier for facilities to be certified as we open up these requirements beyond just the Life Safety Code, which is 101, NFPA 101, to International Building Code and the fire codes of other versions of these codes. Essentially what the local jurisdiction has adopted. Work with them, but make it a requirement, not a policy. Furthermore, the legislation would require adding a section of the VA annual report to Congress that would report the number of grant recipients or eligible entities who have submitted a certification that their facility will meet all building codes. I understand there is some concern over their undue burden for these facilities, but as you'll see in the questions, I'll be able to expound a little bit further about that's not quite accurate. When you travel, do your research in other facilities around the country, annual inspections are expected and demanded, and it's not an undue burden. In West Virginia, it's at no cost to the facility provider to have an inspection done to see that you're in compliance. I am pleased that I want you to know that we've already begun our discussions with those individuals that may have some concerns with this, particularly the VA and others that may have a concern that we're undue burden. Quite frankly, folks, Mr. Chairman, I'm more interested in the veterans than I am about bureaucracy. If we're going to put these men and women in harm's way, I want to take care of the problem. And if it costs us $100 a year to have an inspection, then that's the least of my concerns. These men and women deserve to have a focus for them so that when they come home and they have, for whatever the circumstances are, that they have to live in a homeless shelter, they should feel comfortable that they're going to wake up in the morning and there's not going to be a catastrophe wrapping around them. So with that, I yield back my time and hope that we have an opportunity to have further discussion, and I hope you'll be able to support this effort to take care of our homeless veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKinley.